Yes, I'm in frame. It's fine. So, this is Wunderkind. So we're calling the operation. It's a Star Trek. Yeah. Chimera news. Looking through the collection of Playmates action figures and copies of this. The character of there's a character called Transcarta who went about on eBay, had a store, had an eBay store. It's gone now, but the name's still out there. We had an eBay store during the making of Transformers, Transtech 1, 2, and 3. So a lot of Star Trek action figures were bought up by the mysterious Transcarta during that time period. Here they are. Some of them were used in the making of the movie, but also they were just bought in duplicate, triplicate, quadruplicate. The Transcarta eBay store. That's a funded Transtech, and Starship Chimera was also paid for. Now, as for All Transformers Bush, what came later, that was out of pocket too. The numbers that we came up with may have not been entirely accurate. We did not make we didn't make any money on any of this stuff. It's all fan films. We didn't have a Patreon account. We didn't have a GoFundMe. This is not a GoFundMe, obviously. No, we're going to pay for the next one ourselves as well. So I was looking over the figures. I ordered some new ones. Although we do have some of the new ones, Academy figures and other ones. Order newer ones, leave those in the box that are in the box because they're boxed and they're older. So we're gonna keep them in the box. So we were one of the fan people. Kal Kat was one of the fan people that went to the convention where David Gerald was speaking. He'd gone to another one as well in New York and another one in another place, Canada, and hawked this script, the Escape from the Planet of the Tribbles, 2016 script. Well, now it's 5 years old, but so we're not doing that script, but we're doing a story inspired by the script. So I'm actually he will be listed in the credits as inspired by. This is the guy that wrote the Trouble with Tribbles, classic Star Trek episode, and one of the Planet of the Apes books. Escape from the Planet of the Apes. And wrote this Star Trek script. He didn't directly write Trials and Tribulations either, and he certainly didn't write The Trouble with Edward, but we refer to that story in this one, 170 years later. The premise of what's being done now could be changed in post, but for now it's a sort of inspired by that story, but written by us. So it's not that story, it's inspired by, like the Chimera story, which was inspired by other ones. That one a little more so inspired by several different things. This one's more in that, this one is actually more inspired by the David Gerald script than the others, but not, Chimera you can't really nail down to which story I was going after. This one you could say, oh, it's Escape from the Planet of the Tribbles, but they've made it into a movie. Oh, okay, kind of, sort of, but it's its own thing. It's a silly and Starship Locations fan film. No money will be made. No money will be made on it. It'll be free for you to watch on the Chimera channel. It will be, and it's interesting to look back on some of these characters in here and see which ones were from the movies and the movie and stuff. Apparently, what we did with the Kirk, for instance, or Sulu or something, is we'd have like 3 of them on the set, and we would just use the different Kirks, even though it was the same guy. We just put the other guy in the scene and pose him. It's not really go motion. That's like a doll standing there. From Chicote here. Chimera took place in 2388 in the story. So it was supposed to be 2006. Obviously it couldn't be. That's when the script was written. Now it's been 16, 17 years. So, but the movie came out in 2019, and so it's gonna be like 16 years if it was 2024 in Picard, series, which would link it up with 2402 for the sequel, 16 years later. The characters would be older because they would have to. They would age again, so they'd age up again. The new Picard show has Q in it. He's aged up. So, because he's a demigod, he can come be anything he wants. Or they age up Q or not. Q will inevitably be back in Hours 2. Don't. Anyways, so this is very preliminary. This will not take another 16 years. Not 13 years, no. Famous last words. It will not take 13 years. The story about attacking tribbles is similar enough to the attacking Teddy Ruxpin story from back in the day that you could totally do that. So if you've read Cillian Space stories, this will seem a little like that. It's not going to be Wrath of Khan spoof, though. They would be on a planet fighting trolls. I don't know how we're going to film this, but it's ambitious enough that we're like, this is cool. Let's do this. It's ambitious and weird enough that yeah, sure. Also, a TNG episode from back in the day that was called Conspiracy, which had parasitic creatures taking over people in Remick. They blew up Remick. Wanted to be all violent. They never did anything like that again. They just did it there. We're gonna kind of find out what's going on with that after all this time, a little bit. And more Cillians, the Ventura B, Enterprise B, Ventura B, and Silly it's called Ventura, but it's the Enterprise B. Harriman is not Harriman in that version. It's which doesn't really make sense. In the Cillian universe, it's Curran. It's Curran. Toad Harris, Cillian, commanding the ship. But in order for that to work, it would have to be when he's about 30 something. So he'd be the second captain of the ship, not the original Harriman. So it doesn't really matter who it is, but Harris has to be in there somewhere because he was one of the commanders of the ship. Harrison Johnson / in the books, they say Damara Sulu was there. However, yeah, she could be. I don't know. We'll see. But it's also a little bit of Meridian thrown in there in that episode with the descendants of the crew on the planet. Turns out that in that episode from Short Trek, Trouble with Edward, which was the Silly Trek episode, that there was a character named Lucerno. Sounds a little bit like Locarno. It's not a surprise that they totally could go there and say she's a descendant, an ancestor of Locarno. Lucerno. And Edward was killed in that Short Trek, and trying to make the Tribbles more humanoid, make them more vicious, which goes along with the story that was later David Gerald earlier story. So they were copying that story, but in that story it was Kirk's era. It was set on the Enterprise, classic Trek, fifth year of the 5-year mission. This one, it doesn't make sense to do that, so that changes it immediately. It says, okay, no, it's Enterprise B, not the Enterprise A, not the Enterprise original ship. So the Enterprise B, so it's a different crew that encounters the dangerous evil Tribbles. Guess it would have to be. It was almost a different timeline at that point, because they weren't really like that. So yes, they are going to the Tribble planet. That is in the DNA of the story, but it's a different story. All it is it's a different crew, different story, set in 2402. That's the premise so far of, well, there's a new script, but it's about 10 pages into it, not very far, and they've already introduced some of the characters. It's not spoiler. This is not a spoilery look at the next Starship Locations Chimera movie. Rather, it's a prelude. Because we can give away that information because it might change. So we're giving away that information, it might change. It's very, very early in the scripting process. We know how fast Kal Kat writes a script, and that will probably have some version of a draft within a month and probably early preliminary filming within a month. Now, the original Chimera, we had filmed a fourth of it, 40 minutes of the miniseries, in 2011, 2012, and then scrapped it because we had a better camera. Not gonna happen this time. We got this one. And then reshot the footage. And then we almost lost the 60 minutes of footage we had filmed. Well, we had filmed well over 60 minutes. We had filmed 4 hours of material. So that's more than 60 minutes. That was 2/3 of the miniseries with the newer camera, Chimera. And then the computer was lost. So we had to go back and reshoot that stuff later on. The last hour of the movie was shot. We thought last half hour was our last hour. In the continuum and all that in 2018, we finally completed it for release in September of 2019. It was supposed to be released for the 40th anniversary of Star Trek in 2006. It ended up being the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, and then some. So the 53rd. This will be in time for, if it works out, the 55th anniversary of Star Trek. There's enough material left over from during the COVID times. There's a story there, and there's an interesting story there. We can tell that and go there. Also, a little bit of Picard is in there. Not sure if I think the Cillian characters will be called their Star Trek names in the story. But in the Cillian book that will inevitably give a novelization of this season, there will inevitably be one. The names will be changed to those of the Cillian universe. Clark will become Picard, Riker will become Pickerly, Locarno will become Laredo or something. Their names will change because the Cillian version, you make a little on it on Amazon. Here you don't. So here you can't. But a fan film, you can't. These are the animated action figures. So after the On Location thing, which was released, yes, On Location or Starship Locations is now out, and so after that we said, okay, we're going to do the Star Trek thing. Also, there might be a bobblehead thing down the road, but that doesn't have anything to do with Star Trek. It's interesting that some of these they had Ninja Turtle Star Trek, and they made McCoy Raph, which doesn't make sense. Spock should be. Spock shouldn't be Raph. Kirk should be. But yeah. They made Donatello, Leonardo, and Spock would be Leonardo. Or Scotty would be Leonardo. But I think they made him Donatello. And they mixed him up. The larger ones from the movies can't really be used. They're wrong scale. And the even larger ones from Enterprise can't be used. They're wrong scale. So we're going with the 3.25 inch ones. Yeah, Transcarta was the one that was hoarding all the Star Trek figures. There's probably another box somewhere, all the rest of them. But yeah, there are some special edition ones we don't have that we can use in the movies. We have to get them. But we have the other ones. We have an unfinished pork nog in here, even somewhere. But I don't need to get him out because he's unfinished. We have Kess though. She wasn't even in the reunion special because Jennifer Lean is not well. Yeah, she's a little odd. Yes, very much like the character she's emulating, the Cillian, the Libyan, the Elasian Silly Track. Very much like that. Yes. And here we have Guinan. And here we have the Traveler, the controversial Traveler, which was referred to in one of those Trek. I don't know if Will Wheaton actually saw the Chimera version. I don't think so, because he would have commented on it. But he pretty much said in one of his Trek interviews, like, yeah, the Traveler was sweet on me, which is kind of what we put in the Chimera thing too. I don't think he read it. I think he just thought the same thing and the same. He's like, ew, I don't know what the Traveler saw in me. But yes, yes, I'm not that way. I don't swing that way, Traveler. Sorry about that, but Are you sure he doesn't swing that way? I happen to know he does. But yes. No, he doesn't. Anyway, so we need a king, corn, and pull-off. I don't think you have. Yes, we do need them. Story. We have Tully and Soren in there. A bunch of baggies of original Trek guys. What's interesting about this, though, and I can go through this, is that we have... Apparently there was going to be some sort of a proxy battle that didn't end up in that version of the story. It didn't end up here. We have several copies of Scotty and Q's and Picard's, Rikers, and these guys from the other original crew. Apparently what I planned to do is, because the Abrams movies were coming eventually, and 15 Kirks. All Kirks from Generations. So the Kirk God was originally going to be like 12 of these guys. And then we decided, no, just one. That's a little weird. But yeah, they didn't make a lot of these in this uniform. They made them for some of the movies. They didn't make all of them. Some people make custom ones to make them all Wrath of Khan to Star Trek 4 characters. Playmates kind of dropped the ball in '98 and just didn't go any further. They didn't go any further. So, and then Playmates for the Abrams movies, they bought them out, but then they were like, okay, yeah, let's make them like the original '87 ones for the new movie. Wrong scale for the other ones. Why would they? Oh, here's another. Why would they do that? Uhura should be this tall. And what's weird is like Playmates. I guess the 3 1/4 or the 5-inch ones. So these are 5-inch ones. Yeah, 5-inch ones. Playmates re-released the Ninja Turtles when the Ninja Turtles movies came out. I guess there was some kind of issue with that. And Gloob has released the Discovery ones, so they do have those, but they're the wrong scale too. They're more similar to these. They're like halfway between these and these. And the Discovery ones are also like these. But they're halfway between. These are like 6 and 5, and these from 90 kind of match these, kind of, but not really. Data meeting Kirk from Abrams' world. Yeah, why didn't Playmates just re-release all of these action figures from the 90s in the scale they were as collector's items, with each individual season of story, like of Classic Trek, Deep Space Nine, all of them, several different variants in the collector's boxes. They would make a shit ton of money. They'd make a lot of money. They would do it. All the Deep Space Nine variants, and release newer ones. Like put the Deep Space Nine guys, put a little gray paint. Make also the ones from later on, season 7. They never released them. Ezri Dax, they could make a figure. That's that scale. Include that. All the various other ones, variants. They didn't do that. All the Star Treks. It's because the Abrams guys were like, basically, we don't want any of the old Star Trek. We want our own. Well, the newer stuff is Kurtzman, and then it was somebody after that. So he's like, oh, okay, we can have variants. Yeah, this is we've done something like this before. This is sort of an update. But yeah, looking at these variants now that it's like been 10 years since that other video. Yeah, for the Chimera channel. Yeah, so the next yeah, it's why didn't they I don't know why they didn't do that. Why they didn't say, okay, we're gonna do right scale. Yeah, they're all here. Yeah. I guess I'll separate them by team and put them away in the box temporarily, but they'll be out to be in the film. Sometimes you get inspiration from just pairing them off and saying, like, this would be interesting if this happened. And you get inspiration. There were, I remember in the original, there were scenes in that movie that were written just because it seemed funny to do that. Like, yeah, the continuum, of course, and them on the planet, like, lost, and because they were frustrated about their relationships, they were literally not able to come together. That was funny. And of course, the Voyager people and Janeway and all that. And there was a scene in which originally Janeway is arguing with Q. It didn't end up in the movie, but there was going to be like this scene where Q was lambasting her because the cornfield that you saw in Voyager was only there its tiniest minimum, and you were just, we didn't want to show you that, you couldn't handle it. That ends up being just a line that Q throws away going, it's the continuum. It's beyond what you realize. It's not a tiny cornfield. It is in there, but it's not said to Janeway, it's just said to all of them, which makes it funnier. It's just like, okay. Because that was dumb. What was Voyager thinking? It could have showed something weird and ethereal. We did it on a budget. We did it with our little action figures, with strobe lights and flinky lights and things. It took 2 days to stage on a minimum set with a glass table. It's right there. There's a glass table. But yeah, it's like you guys could have done that. You have a studio in Hollywood and stuff. You have lights everywhere. You totally could have done that. Made the continuum look awesome, but you didn't. You didn't do it. Because and how do they get around that they could float and stuff? How do they do that on a glass table? Put them on the table. Or some sort of ethereal thing. Nowadays, there's green screen, and they just put a whole green screen and put them on wires and float the actors around. This is kind of, we did both. With action figures. It's not that hard. So yeah, the technology has vastly improved since back then, and we can do that. All Transformers Mush enabled us to do a lot of stuff. We didn't do a lot of space stuff. We kept them on planets because, we can't float them that much. It looks like this. It looks pretty fake. So we didn't do that much. But we have, So Chimera 2. Starship Locations, Chimera was the name of the movie, Starship Locations. This will be Starship Locations Strange Worlds. And so far, the code name for it is Wunderkind. But it's, probably the right Tribble Hunt. That'll probably be the title, maybe. As you saw from the poster. So it's inspired the David Gerald story and the J. Blair Tribbles and all that. But it is not directly the story. It's just inspired by probably maybe 20 minutes of it. Maybe less. Is from the story, but not directly, indirectly. So like they'll go on a planet and a similar thing will happen to them, but it'll be different people. Because really the original crew wouldn't be around unless it's the Abrams crew, in which case it would be a different universe, and he does reference that in the script. He says, like, Spock and Uhura aren't in love? Why would they do that? In another universe they are. Who cares? It was his way of like turning around and saying, no, they wouldn't be. Because it would be Spock and Kirk. Because he was off in the Slash mission. So we have, Janice Rand. No, this is the Doctor. Yeah, this is Chapel. Also played by Majel Roddenberry. We have like two of those. We have we have Soong, Dr. Soong. So indirectly we have Alton Indigo Soong from. We indirectly have him because he was a Soong toy that was actually made. So we have Soong. There he is. Alton. There he is. Alton. He appeared. And I only have one of those, so I should probably get another one. I tended to copy them and get other ones and then say, okay, I have two. So, yeah. 100 Scotties. They could be like, the Scotties could be like the holograms that help build a ship. Engineering holograms. That'd be kind of fun. Please state the nature of the medical emergency. That'd be kind of cool. Put that in there, okay, somewhere. So have like them walk onto the bridge thing and go like, zip. Please state the nature of the medical emergency. Scotty shows up and he's like, what? You want me to fix the bloody ship? You want me to fix the bloody crashed ship? You're out of your mind. Oh, I can't do that. It may be a miracle worker, but I'm not going to do that. What in the world? And by the way, I don't think this is actually a character. What's up, buddy, is going on here? I don't know, Mr. Scott. This is pretty weird. I'm the ghost or something. Or Kal Kat, something. Oh, Captain. Oh, a kiss! Just knew that was gonna happen. I only have eyes for Bob. No, oh, classic tracking picture. Yeah, so with Playmates figures, I'm sure why not. Yeah, there was also Orbital Skydive Kirk. There were like 3 of them. I guess they were gonna have a Orbital Skydive Kirk fall out of orbit. They did that in the Abrams movies, and they did that in Discovery. They didn't make so this Gloob company is making Discovery figures now. The Gloob remake. It's not really Gloob. It's somebody else that's taking the name. And I think they're the wrong scale. I think they're again like this weird scale. So here is Luxana Troy Magell Roddenberry, and the other one. Yeah. Ew. And they didn't make a Playmates figure of the Discovery, of any of the Discovery people. It's that other group, Gloob, which used to make them years ago, but now makes them again, and they're hard to get. And so the Playmates Edith Keeler will play the other person. Yes, Playmates Edith Keeler. Here we have. What's funny is because they're all here, like you see that the way we would have done it. Oh, this is a painted Sela too. See, the way we would have done the finale of Picard season 1, it would have been they would have been there for Riker, for Picard dying and then getting reborn. They would have been there. It would have been different. It would have gone on for another hour, but it would have had a scene in which it wasn't just Riker and the Chinsan fleet and the Shang-Chi fighting the Shang-Chi, of course, fighting the it would also be the Romulans. And we would have had Denise Crosby's character show up as Sela. And she would have basically been like, okay, Riker's going to fight you, Romulan lady. The Romulan lady still wants to fight him. And so she shows up and she's like, yes, when he's done with you, I, Praetor's assistant Sela, will be done with you too. And then she was going to show up and she's going to be like, I'm going to fight you too, the Romulan guys over the planet. Yeah, I'm going to totally like we're going to paste you to the evil lady. And then the evil lady's fleet thing would even be accosted again by the arrival of Regent Worf, who would also show up, Regent Worf, and he would be, where is Worf? There he is. Regent Worf would show up, and he would go, and on behalf of the Klingon Empire, I will also paste you, because it amuses me. Yes, prepare to die. It is a good day to die for you. And Regent Worf. And then she gives up, not because of Riker and his cut and paste fleet, but because the Klingons and the Romulans teamed up and they're like behind him. And then it would have been revealed that actually none of them were actually there. They were tricking the Romulan lady using that device that they had on the ship. So that's why Riker didn't go down to the planet. It's because of part of that device they had on the ship. And they all go, they're all gone, and they're like, wait a minute. So the Klingon and the Romulan fleet weren't here. No, they weren't. And then they would have found the Romulan dude, the incest Romulan that ran off. They would have found him, and yeah, that's how Picard would have ended. But they changed it. So. They didn't like that version. It was too much, too long. So they changed it. Yeah. I guess it worked. Although there was a clever fan who reanimated the fleet arriving as different ships, stole the fleet from the fleet from the First Contact or something, and rejiggered it into it, and also a fleet from the Voyager finale, and used Photoshop and cut and paste to put the fleet in there. And then when Riker shows up, it's not the Shenzhou or whatever, or the Xinghe, it's the Enterprise E, and Riker. Well, that would have made a lot more sense. The Enterprise E just shows up. I know it's 20 years later, but hey, why not? Yes, but 16 years. And Yes, but 16 years is a reference to a very old Star Trek fan film that somebody made where they mashed up Star Trek and made YouTube poop out of it. And there was a scene where Worf insults Troy, even though it doesn't make sense, because he obviously gets around in this series. It's supposed to be season 2 of Next Generation. And she's all like, what are you talking about? You haven't been a shag in 16 years. And Troy just responds, yes, but 16 years. Doesn't make any sense. But okay. So we'll shot the Locarnos again. Here they are. Here's the happy couple, the Locarnos, from the movie. They're still around. Yes, I hear in this next one we have a baby or something. I think she's a teenager. Oh, that's lovely. I bet it's really silly though. Oh, she is. Oh, she is. Will she show up? I don't know. I know we show up in it. Yeah, we show up. Of course we're there. And it would be highly illogical if I did not. So you must have a scene where I show up. Even though I'm Geordi, not Tuvok. I thought it was Tuvok. Where is Tuvok? Oh, here's Riker. Actually, they kind of got that. I kind of got that right. Kind of got that right. Where is? Oh, there's. Yeah. Oh, they Admiral Picard. 2019 Admiral Picard. That's the costume they had in the movie. This predates the Picard series. This Picard. They copied that in the movie. So we got. Where is? Here's another Regent Worf, but he wasn't in the movie. Paris. And Tuvok. There he is. I knew I was in here somewhere. It is illogical. I am now commander of Deep Space Nine. What are you talking about, you bleeding, blooding, blaster? Oh, I'm Chief O'Brien, but I'm not really. I'm actually Mark's Cards, I think, in this iteration. Why am I Mark's Cards? That doesn't make any sense. I know. None of this ever does, Mr. Turbo. I mean, Mr. Mark's Cards, is it? Yes. Fascinating. Oh! Excuse me. Spock. This is fun looking at it again. Oh yeah. Here's the Dr. Crusher Borg. It's supposed to be 7 or 9. So we have that. And here is B'Elanna as a Klingon, but it played with Crass. Now it's old enough to be the actual character. It would be Miral Paris. Would be old enough to be on this show. And there's Mahoney, who is actually Carrie. Mahoney Carrie. And what's interesting about Carrie is that Carrie is a character that Star Trek Voyager put on Voyager after reading our Starkiller stories. So they put him on Voyager. And that's why he left Voyager. Not that we wouldn't have been okay with him then using Carrie, but oh well. Back in the 90s. So yes. Once they realized that script submission, oh, it's the Carrie guy. Yeah, they might say, no, the other guy thought, no, it was us. But here we have, it's actually Seska, but we made her play Sito Jaxa. This character is only interesting because of the backstory, and it's more developed in the newer one. This is the one from back then, and she's supposed to be Sito Jaxa. So that's. But Next Generation, she was basically their version of a red shirt. She was a gold shirt, and although they set up her character and everything, they just like got rid of her in that episode. They got rid of her. They decided, okay, she's gonna go on a secret mission, and they got rid of. And secret mission and gotten rid of. And they didn't go looking for her. I don't know why they found her. Anyway, so, okay, let's back to the guy. Okay, this character is a backstory in the Chimera story. Nicholas Locarno was originally the Tom Paris character. So Tom Paris was reinvented as the same backstory. They just made him slightly different. So he's same actor. They did that with Vorik and Tarek as well, and they would have done it with her too, but they decided not to. So she was going to be Cito Jackson as well from the other story, but she wasn't. So in the Next Generation, around season 4, I think, or 5, 4 or 5, they decide this character was on the Enterprise, and she goes on a covert mission with the Cardassian, makes it look like she's been injured. Their shuttle is presumed destroyed, and never hear from her again. So there was a backstory, there was a prologue to Chimera, where it was addressed in the beginning of the movie, the Chimera miniseries, what happened. Basically, Tom Paris is the twin brother of Nick Locarno. They're twins. And, because it's the same actor, it's funny. Maybe Torek and Vorik are twins. So, Nicholas Locarno went on to the Dominion War and became captured. He was captured by the Cardassians. He was captured in the Cardassian prison. Was in the Cardassian prison. He meets a young teen something Mahoney and young Crass in prison. He also meets Cito Jackson, who was captured by the Cardassians several years earlier. So they're all in prison. They're all freed by the USS Exeter under Captain Sarah Esteban. So Sarah Esteban comes to rescue them. But it's during the height of the Dominion War, during the retaking of Bajor. And so, retaking of Beta Z. They're going to go to Beta Z from the Cardassian camp. So they're taken off to Beta Z while they're on the ship. The ship is attacked during the battle for Beta Z in 2375. And the captain is incapacitated. She's wounded on the bridge. And the bridge is damaged. So they have to call for somebody to help save the ship. And Locarno and Mahoney and Cito and them are in the sick bay, but they're recovering, but they're well enough to help save the ship. So the doctor says, "Go save the ship," and so they leave. They go down at auxiliary control and they rescue the ship in time for it to get away. The Enterprise E shows up and helps them, and they discover, oh, Seska, we didn't realize you were even alive. Cito Jessica was alive in this other timeline. And it's Apocrypha, it's B canon, but fans have done stories like that. So that's awesome. So she's not dead. She was in a Cardassian camp, she was rescued. She's very traumatized. And so during the course of the Cillian saga, she's Cito Jackson. Cillian saga, she gets promoted through the ranks. And in this episode, we decided the opening scene of this one has to be, it's 16 years since Chimera. Lieutenant Jaxa should get a promotion. So the opening scene, very Star Trek-like, is her being ushered into the captain's quarters because she's done something again for the fleet. That's something, could be bad, could be good. And she says, this is your promotion. Being promoted to first officer on the ship. So at last she is promoted. Yay! So she's a Starfleet. Also, Picard had apologized since then in Chimera movie for not going to rescue you. Sorry about that. Should have done that. He's feeling guilty about that one. Well, he was in the Continuum, he says that to her. So that's in the movie. So why of all the other Star Trek characters from that universe wouldn't Picard rescue? Even Locarno, he would have rescued Locarno too. There's just somebody that served on the ship briefly that was there. Even though he was a bad guy and he did some bad things, but he was redeemable. And I guess Paris was a little more redeemable, but he helped save a ship, a Starfleet ship, so he became eventually Captain Locarno. So that's the story of Chimera's backstory. And there's enough of these characters that we can pull that off. And we can make other people. So that's the story of Cito Jackson. Yes. My Voyager story was called The Arbiter. It didn't get published. It was rejected, but it was printed. They marked on it twice. They looked at it season 2 and season 7, and they considered it for a Voyager episode. So Yeah. That would have been interesting. Little elements of it appeared here and there, but not as much as the Deep Space Nine one did earlier. A year earlier was a Deep Space Nine one called Fearful Symmetry, which later became a pocketbook, but by somebody else. They just took the title and used it from the Strange New Worlds contest. It was also one of those, Fearful Symmetry, and they developed the Strange New World ones into a story. I did not get any royalties for that. Somebody else took the full credit for that novel, that novella. I did not write that one. They changed it considerably, but used the title. But the Deep Space Nine episode that's associated with it, they used full elements from it. It's called The Ship. So there is the Deep Space Nine episode with a little bit of Kal Kat in it. Ad Brown, of course. They directly reference, they were just annoyed by the idea of female Vorta, because they had established earlier there wasn't a female Vorta. There was a female Vorta in the episode. And she's like, okay, this is why there are some female Vorta, just in this case, because of the story of lines right out of that script. They were like, literally, they just, let's put that in there, that's clever. And they never had her show up again. Just that one episode. But yeah, The Ship. Fearful Symmetry would have been a better name. But I guess it does make more sense that a Borg story would be the Fearful Symmetry. It was a later version instead of the Vorta. But yeah, Symmetry, they're shapeshifters. Yeah, I stole it from Blake's The Tiger. Yes, the title is from that. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, which I stay, which I might. That high thy fearful, where thy mortal eyes can see, defy thy fearful symmetry. And on the ship's plaque of the Chimera, it's 4 nights will dream away the days, 4 days will dream away the time. William Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream. Very appropriate. An episode about tribbles. Hopefully, probably not, hopefully Halloween 2021. That would be awesome. Wow, that's not too far off, but probably that's when it'll get done. But yeah, so Starship Locations, Strange Worlds is the name of the series / anthology / stories. Strange Worlds. We have lots of different generations here, so we could theoretically have episodes where we go back to Classic Trek or go back to TNG, or we could do that. They're plastic. Totally do that. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. I don't think Paramount's going to care. They're not going to make any money on it. Anyway, so that is action figures. It's just like, what are they going to say? Oh, this guy playing those action figures. He can't do that. Yeah. There was a German one that was interesting. Yar one that was odd. Yeah, rescuing Tasha Yar's coffin from the planet. Like Genesis from Star Trek 3. That was odd. That was an earlier one. That wasn't me. That was a German one. Here we have Chakotay. Here we have the Subaru from the other Subaru. Yeah, so, yeah, this is soon. But, yeah. Lots of Guinans. Guinan with the tabletop head. Doesn't stand up too well. Yeah, so the ship. And here we have I am Locutus, the Borg. Actually, no, that's not Locutus. That's the other Borg. 2 Borgs. I am a Borg drone. As you can see, this is my erectile attachment. We are slightly different Borg. Yes, we are so sexy. We must assimilate. Actually, these guys go back too, as well. The Silly Trek role-playing game. There's a guy named Jamie, and he was the Borg originally. Before the Borg. So there we go. I think there must have been somebody totally on the same wavelength with us when 1986 and 87, when the Next Generation was about to start. On the same wavelength, right up there. Or there were people from Paramount at our private school who were just going, oh, those kids over there came up with a good idea. I'm going to call the Paramount people. That is highly unlikely. This is more likely you're just on the same wavelength. Because he's space being. Sort of. Q kind of thing. Yes, now that I'm in the time continuum, the only man for me is me. Haha. Yes, it's gonna get all homoerotic for some reason. Why? Why would you do that, Cisco? I don't know. It seemed like a good idea at the time. Oh, you know what? We've never actually met. I know, it's weird. It's odd. Why have we never met? Can we meet? Can we meet? Yeah, we meet now. Huh. Just tell me, Captain, have you ever had a Thai steak? Well, you love it. What? It's from a movie I was in. It was called Eating Raoul. I have heard of that. Yes, it's rather obscure. Because I'm an omnipotent space being now. Omnipotent space being. What was he smoking? Little doubt. A Thai stick, he said so. You'll have Thai? Yes. Oh. Damn. And Troy, who has the body of the other Dax, and they just stuck her head. And the only large, super large Data, because this was somebody gave you a doll. That's Star Trek Data. How did I win this? This is a contest or something I won, yeah. Got a Data doll at a convention. The Data Barbie. He's fully pullable. A giant Data Barbie. Mecha Data. Mecha Data. I constructed him to be the perfect visage of me. And the law of averages would indicate that I would weigh well over 3 tons and probably fall over. What? What are you talking about, you bleeding, clanking robot? Screwing all the action figures. Yeah, the funny thing is that in the Picard show, they put my eyepiece on wrong as though I was looking into a mirror. But I wasn't, I was looking at a view screen. They screwed that up. I am insulted. I am Locutus of Borg, Beverly Crusher, Doctor. You are fully functional, aren't you, Beverly? Why, yes. Yes, I am. Oh, beep, 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 beep. My Borg appendage has become excited. Okay, let's not go there. Oh, boy. What? Preposterous. Right there. No. Why doesn't he look like McCoy? What the heck? Not even close. It looks like Chekhov. It's supposed to be McCoy. Completely wrong. Uh-oh. It's not the right guy. It's not the right guy. No. No. It's Archer. You were the other man. I would kiss you. You just want to destroy the ship and run away. You coward. You were the other man. I would kiss you where you stand. Don't let that stop you, Mr. Wolf. Oh, Captain. What will Dax say? She won't mind. The got your Earl Grey all over your lips, my dear Captain. Normally I don't swing this way, but for you I'll make an exception. Mon Dieu! Yes, this is getting silly. You better stop this video now. It's getting really ridiculous. Yes, yes.